My name is Beatrice. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Ghana Health Service heightens surveillance as meningitis death toll in Upper West region increases to 10. Residents are being asked to take precautionary measures. Also, pre-tertiary teacher unions, NAT, NAGRAT and Coalition of Concerned Teachers declare nationwide strike beginning today. Later on this program, Electoral Commission denies minorities report that there are some missing BVDs ahead of the 2024 general election. The EC is expected to hold a press conference today. We'll bring you updates. And much later, we'll take you to Parliament, where the House is expected to take some critical decisions before proceeding to go on recess later today. Thank you very much for joining us. The Ghana Health Service is advising residents of the Upper West region to take precautionary measures against the meningitis outbreak there. The caution comes as the death toll linked to meningitis cases in the region rises from 8 last month to 10, while the number of suspected cases has also risen from 81 to 101. In a public health alert, the Regional Health Directorate urged residents to sleep in well-ventilated rooms, drink more water, use nose masks and avoid overcrowding. It also advised schools to limit outdoor activities due to the excessive heat. For those of you who may not know what meningitis is, it is an infection and inflammation of the fluid and membranes surrounding the brain and spinal cord. These membranes are called meninges. The inflammation from meningitis typically triggers symptoms such as headache, fever and a stiff neck. There are different types of meningitis: bacterial, viral, fungal, parasitic, among others. Now, the Ghana Health Service says it is maintaining surveillance drive to identify the actual pathogen causing the meningitis disease in the Upper West region. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwin, says the focus is to minimize the cases. He spoke to 3FM.
They have recorded over 110 suspected cases. Basically, you try to pick it based on the case definition, and the system has picked over 110 suspected cases. Some have been confirmed by lab, but they have about 10 deaths and over the period. So it's a period of, I would say, spanning from November to March. So that has been the record. And I think that in 2020, we had an outbreak in Upper West that also had similar effect, but those one is on a minimal scale. You see how minimal the numbers are. And just a few days ago, the region actually called an emergency regional committee meeting where a number of factors have been put in place. You know, a few months ago, we issued an alert. The alert was not about Upper West. It's about across the country that fevers should manage outside malaria, to look beyond it and see whether it could be meningitis. You report to a health facility if you have a fever. No, don't self-medicate. So those are the issues that are being handled. Whilst we try to maintain our surveillance, looking for the pathogen which is causing the disease or the cases. If it's a meningitis vaccine prone, then we need to get the vaccine. But for now, what we are having is not the vaccine prone cases.
You heard the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu-Bekwin. Meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres is urging leaders to tackle the existential threat posed by climate change. Reacting to the report showing 2023 as the hottest on record, the UN chief said it showed a planet on the brink.
The latest State of the Global Climate Report shows a planet on the brink. Fossil fuel pollution is sending climate chaos off the charts. Sirens are blaring across all major indicators. last year saw record heat, record sea levels, and record ocean surface temperatures. Glaciers likely lost more ice than ever before. Some records are just chart-topping, they are chart-busting, and changes are speeding up. Sea level rises are accelerating, threatening coastal communities. And last September, Antarctic sea ice was 1 million square kilometers smaller than the previous record low for the time of year. That's an area almost 25 times the size of Switzerland. The impact of all these is stark, brutal, and accelerating with a deadly force. The report from the World Meteorological Organization details extreme weather around the world in 2023 and the trail of destruction left in its wake. Thousands killed, millions displaced, crops failing, and vast economic losses. The impact on sustainable development is devastating. Every fraction of a degree of global heating impacts the future of life on Earth.
You heard UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Let's get some more on this. I'm joined by Felicity Ahiafanyo. She is with the Ghana Meteorological Agency and she's actually the chief forecaster. Good afternoon to you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
We've just heard the rep from the Ghana Health Service telling us that the Ghana Health Service is going to find out what pathogens are causing the meningitis in the Upper West region. I just wanted us to start from there. What do you think is contributing to it? Would you say that the heat waves you are experiencing could be contributing to the number of deaths they are recording in that part of the country?
Yeah, thanks so much, and good afternoon to our dear listeners and viewers if you're on the social media platforms. We have heat-related diseases, and if temperatures are on the higher side, most definitely it could be one of the reasons why there is a surge in the death cases that they are being recorded over the Upper West region.
Having made that point, though, are you able to tell us what is accounting for the heat wave generally?
Currently, in Ghana, we have a hot season. We normally don't talk of heat wave. It's rather a hot season that normally starts from the middle of February all the way into April, May. So this year is also part of it. Today, the sun just crossed the equator and is doing its northward migration into the northern hemisphere. And as such, temperatures are expected to be on the higher side. The daytimes will be pretty hot, the nighttime will be pretty warm. But the days that we may have one or two rainstorms passing through or forming, those will be the days that we'll have temperatures on the mild side. So in terms of the hot season, the high temperatures, yes, we have the sky being open, and then we have much of the sun rays being received by the Earth surface. So temperatures will be very, very high across the country.
What can people do to protect themselves aside from taking in more fluid?
Yes, the other aspect is for them to avoid the hottest parts of the day, to find a shade. And then if they need be, they have to be in the sun, then they have to go with a hat that can shade them off from the direct sun rays. And then about our houses too, we need to try as much as possible to allow for proper ventilation so that the heat will not be trapped in. That may cause an uncomfortable situation for us.
We heard the UN Secretary General raising alarm over rising temperatures across the world, and you are confirming that we are also experiencing some heat. The UN is saying that last year was hottest. The anticipation is that this year will be worse as compared to last year. How long do you anticipate, based on your own examinations, that we would experience this heat that the country is currently experiencing?
As I said earlier on, this episode will continue into April for those of us over the southern sector. But those in the north, theirs will extend into May 2024. So we expect it to have a hot, and then some areas is going to be extremely hot. Currently, some towns in the upper east regions are recording 42 degrees Celsius. And then some areas in Oti region and Volta region are recording 39, 40 degrees Celsius. Greater Accra, the maximum recorded so far at our various stations is around 34. But then we are also anticipating that it's likely they may go into 35, 36. So between now and May, we should watch out for high temperatures across the country.
Briefly before we go, are these heat, well, you don't call it heat waves, this heat we're experiencing, is it likely to affect food security? Because one of the reports that came from the UN also suggested that food could be affected.
Most definitely, for the season has not started in terms of rain, so some type of crops that they do plants around this time may not be able to survive the heat. So most definitely there may be some shortage because they need to take from the harvest that they have done for last year. And since maybe they may not be able to start planting now, then definitely there's likelihood of a food shortage. But then we are hoping that it may not result into that.
Thank you very much, Felicity Ahia-Fenyon. She is Chief Forecaster at the Ghana Meteorological Agency. Thank you for speaking to us now. Pre-tertiary teacher unions, the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Ghana, have declared a nationwide strike effective today. The unions are protesting the delay in negotiating with the conditions of service for members, as well as the decision by the Office of the Special Prosecutor to freeze salaries of some teachers. President of NAT, Reverend Isaac Owusu, addressed a news conference a while ago. Take a listen.
Negotiation of the new collective agreement should have completed on or before February 29 this year, but this has not been so. Thus, the new collective agreement stands unnegotiated, and we raise this concern in our letter to the Director General of GES dated 29 February 2024. From the rank and file of our members, we, the pre-tertiary teacher union, do stand with our members and hereby declare a nationwide industrial action effective today.
President of NAT, Reverend Isaac Owusu, declaring that strike at a news conference a while ago. Daniel Opoku is our Labour correspondent. He joins us on the line. Daniel, what more can you tell us about the strike?
Right, so the strike begins today, as we have clearly said. And we want to listen to the content of what the issues are raising. They are looking at the distribution of laptops, which are delayed. They're also looking at delay in concluding negotiations on their conditions of service. And also, a bit of the discussion has to do with the scheme of service. Scheme of service is basically about what actually is a structure in terms of the appointment of a director general. Consistently, the Ghana Education Service does not have any scheme of service. It's another issue that the teacher unions raise. But most importantly to them is the delay in the conditions of service and the delay in distribution of the laptop. For that reason, every discussion that they have had with their employer, i.e. the Ghana Education Service, have not yielded any results. Is the reason they have declared a nationwide strike. So government currently, they have to step in and get the issues resolved. Even though the pre-tertiary teacher unions have petitioned the National Labour Commission before declaring this nationwide strike, it still behooves the government to engage them either at the NLC level or at a closed-door meeting to get the issues addressed.
Daniel, let's look at the timing of this strike. How is it likely to affect academic activities?
Right, so currently you have the second batch. These are pre-tertiary teacher unions, so you have most of them at the basic level. You have a lot of them who are part of NAT, and also at the senior high level, you have a lot of who are part of NAGRAT and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. And just recently, we've had a second batch of students who have gone back to school. So the government fails to address the concerns now, then obviously academic work is going to be disrupted. Already there is a problem with the academic calendar, where lecturers have been teaching for some time now without even going on leave, where students are being moved in terms of shift basis. So government must come in to address the problem, or else academic will be affected, teachers will not be able to go to school, students also be affected, then examination will be, then the whole system will crumble. Then obviously it also has a very difficult impact on the industrial front currently.
Thank you very much. Daniel Opoko is our Labour correspondent. Thank you for bringing us details from that press conference. We stay on education because pressure is mounting on the government to urgently remove the capping of the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund. The National Union of Ghana Students, which is leading this charge, says that the decline in funding education has negatively affected the allocation of resources to the Student Loan Trust Fund and other educational agencies. The student group wants immediate government action. Let's connect with my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, who is following this story for us. Ibrahim, talk to us a bit more about the concerns raised.
Well, a myriad of concerns, like you actually mentioned, they are calling for an end to the capping because they said the capping affects the provision of needed infrastructure to accommodate a large number of students. You know, currently we know that GET Fund has been the sole domestic sustainable source of financing education infrastructure. But then the current capping means that per the GET Fund structure, the money, only 30% will be allocated to the educational institutions and the other 70% will be used to finance other issues. And they believe that this will affect the infrastructure development of various schools. But aside the capping, they've also spoken about victimization of SRC and local NUCS executives on various university campuses. And they are saying currently we have some of the universities that are not even allowing the SRC to get access to their own funds. These are things they believe should be addressed to at least bring a united front to the student leadership and make sure that they are able to fight for their own cause. Daniel Opon-Trema is the president of the National Union of Ghana Students.
I'm sorry, we don't have that. We'll try and bring you that later. But are you able to tell us what has been the response so far to these concerns that have been raised?
Well, government says it is doing its best. In fact, it has not responded to the issue of capping of the GET Fund. We had the education minister speaking virtual during the NUCS education conference, but he didn't touch on it. But with the issue of the students, allowing them to be able to educate and also reforms in our various education sector, they have been addressing that and saying that government is doing everything possible to make sure they reform the education sector and bring it up to standard.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar. He's our correspondent in the Ashanti region. We heard to Parliament where we understand that the MPs are addressing some issues before rising today. Duke Mesopoko is on the line. He joins us live. Duke, what can you tell us from the House?
Well, the House has just started its sitting for today. The Speaker is in the seat. The second Deputy Speaker is in the seat. But before they go on recess today, they are expected to adopt the report of the Appointments Committee on the various ministerial nominees by the President. There's also the report of the Committee on Selection. I mean, because of the different committees of Parliament that has been constituted based on the new standing orders, they will have to be filled with members, right? So that is what the Committee of Selection has worked on. There are a number of loan agreements, a number of reports, $150 million of additional financing for the GRIDE project, which is supposed to deal with flooding the Greater Accra region. The Minister for Energy has a question that he has to answer in relation to load shedding because of the intermittent power outages and a number of issues that may come up on the floor of Parliament. So essentially, this is the order of business that Parliament is expected to take before they go on recess later today or early tomorrow morning at dawn, as usually their practice is. They rise very late on the last day of their meeting.
Thank you very much, Duke Mesopoko. He's our parliamentary correspondent, and of course, we'll bring you some more of what the House will discuss before it rises ahead of recess. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. When we come back, we'll bring you more about Electoral Commission denying minorities' claims that some BVDs are missing ahead of the December general election. Stay with us.
Adama for the aba a freezer. Adama, a quick was a mentia. Adamo, Adama, Metimoso, my sorry. Canino, over Moasia. I do fresh the Nobium Union San last night. I don't know what media was here. Adam of what you have from what we say. Yet you drew back up a ship we be a high technology. I could for freeze up. When Kwan and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the boss here, if we be any of us you, I could say, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer,
Basia, a person does so among Ammoniaji.
To me. Me what's it? To me. But you may not do some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry who ate you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice. Thank you for staying. Now, like I told you, the Electoral Commission is denying reports from the minority that some BVDs have been missing ahead of the 2024 general election. This allegation was made by the leader of the minority in Parliament, Dr. Arthur Forson. We'll cross over and bring you details of that press conference being held by the Electoral Commission. But first, listen to Dr. Arthur Forson when he made that claim.
Electoral Commission confirms that 7 of the biometric devices are indeed missing. I urge the CID and the Ghana Police Service to immediately issue a statement giving us the details of their investigation so far. I am concerned and worried because that devices in the hands of an unknown person can compromise the future elections that Ghana will have.
Minority Leader Kissel Arthur Forson Crosby Annan is there at that press conference by the Electoral Commission, and he joins us live on the line. Crosby, what more has the Electoral Commission been saying?
Well, Beatrice, the press conference, which was originally scheduled for 10:30 a.m., but was later postponed to 11 a.m., is yet to begin after 12:15 at the Electoral Commission. The information we're picking is that the officials of the Electoral Commission are in a crunch meeting at the moment ahead of the engagement with the press. So if you visit the offices of the Electoral Commission, the media is here well and ready to convey the information or the explanation that the Electoral Commission will give as to the allegations made by the minority in Parliament led by Dr. Kissel Arthur Forson. Earlier, as you mentioned, the Electoral Commission sought to say that the allegations were untrue and no biometric verification devices are missing at the moment. So that is the explanation that we're expecting to hear, or we're expecting to hear more on this response from the Electoral Commission at this press conference that we understand the chairperson of the commission will be addressing after the officials leave the crunch meeting they are in at the moment. So we're stationed here. Whatever that comes out, Beatrice will let listeners hear.
Thank you very much, Noble Crosby Annan, bringing us information from the headquarters of the Electoral Commission to the Eastern region now, where the family of the Osino violence victim and youth in the region are decrying the slow pace of investigations into the death of the young man. They argue this is fueling suspicions and intolerance among agitated youth. It's been 1 month since 28-year-old minor Kwesi Peter was lynched in a violence involving Osino Presbyterian Senior High Technical School students on a matter of old tension between the school and the community in February 2024. The youth leaders say they can no more hold brief for the police and the Fantiakwa District Security Council after 1 month of silence. Regional correspondent Yvonne Nekwe joins us on the phone with some details. Yvonne, what are the residents saying?
Well, the residents are demanding that the police swiftly act on the investigation and then start the prosecution of persons found guilty and perpetrating the act against the young man during that violence. They feel that 1 month today the incident happened. The police haven't really moved as fast as they would want. Again, they are worried that a number of the youth are trying to get back at the student. And so if the police do not quickly act on the situation, we're going to have a reprisal attack on our hands.
A charge to the police, but what have the officials been saying themselves?
Well, the police haven't spoken officially about this matter yet. Yes, the police posture about official communication have always been on their social media. We haven't seen a response of that yet. But the District Security Council head, who doubles as the District Chief Executive, Ernest Oposu, having given me some explanation. He says that the 1 month period is sort of time for the residents to be demanding results from them, especially when he's hoping that the police do a clean job to arrest the people involved. He's hoping that they will restrain on any action they want to take as the police finish their investigation. He was not able to tell the time framework that the police are hoping to finish with the investigation and get the culprits arrested. But we do know from his confirmation that the 4 that were early on arrested during the proceedings have been granted bail, but they are to report to the police stations as investigations continue.
Thank you very much, Yvonne Nekwe. We can listen to that person Yvonne was talking about.
It's still not going on in Ghana. If you see the way they are begging, even from the beginning, if they have taken in the initial report of these boys, maybe it is.
And you heard a family member of that 28-year-old minor in the Eastern region who was killed. We do apologize for the poor quality of that line. Earlier, you heard our reporter Yvonne Nekwe giving us updates from the Eastern region, and we head to the Ashanti region because several communities within Ejiso and Achokrom to endure weeks of electricity disconnection following the falling of some pylons supplying power to the area. 8 pylons belonging to the Electricity Company of Ghana fell off during Monday's downpour. These pylons transmit power to substations including Ejiso, Fawade, Aguna, Efijiase, Bekwai, Manson Kwanta, Jakubo, Sanfo, Edio Mampong and their environs. Officials of the ECG suspect a deliberate vandalizing of the high tensioner and removing the bolts and nuts from the bases, leading to the 8 pylons falling to the ground. The general manager of Ashanti South Sub-Transmission, Peter Kofi Fletcher, spoke to us earlier.
Ahomano Oguduno, Koko 8, Odafum. Na yakon no, and then Krofu etutu no humbote not. And I don't know when bring me to 2 or 4 up to a level of about 3 meters. When you see some people closer to the towers now, because there are around where the in fact, young transformers or cry in Krofu to Tuno Honyama, to Tuno Honyama, people are just attacking the network. And the move to Tunusa, or Cotonoso on Yanshi. But when you compare the damage to that small thing you are removing, it's not worth it. And I say areas I know either a farm or I have been. I had the Ubibesha and a farm in Shri into education and the other man for there. I don't see Swono on this walk. Both are not now what 211 or a calculation on your door Bohokwa. Bibio Bohumbia, it builds or it strengthens the town of Sihono.
You have the general manager of Ashanti South Sub-Transmission, Peter Kofi Fletcher, speaking from the Ashanti region. In Chi and in summary, he's accusing the people of the community of removing the bolts of those pylons leading to their falling, and also saying that they need to educate the people about the importance of some of these tools that join the pylons together so they are able to function properly. Meanwhile, the police is yet to effect any arrest of the culprits, and the company is appealing to the public to safeguard the towers and report any wrongdoing to ECG officers. And And that's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories: Electoral Commission expected to hold a press conference denying allegations from the minority that about 7 biometric verification devices have gone missing ahead of the 2024 general election. We'll bring you details of that. Plus, Ghana Health Service heightens surveillance as meningitis death toll in Upper West Region increases to 10. My name is Beatrice. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Coming up next is Business Daily.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business Daily. Coming up, Ghana's economy grows by 2.9% stronger than government's revised target of 1.5%. We'll hear from government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna. Also, government sets up committee to review taxes at the ports after several concerns raised by the business community. We'll hear from Vice President Dr. Muhammad Bamia. Plus, Ghana Export Promotion Authority plans to increase non-traditional exports to $4.5 billion in 2024. Well, I'm Michael Obedu. I'll bring you details of our top stories and more shortly. Please stay. Well, thank you for staying with us. Straight into our top story now. Ghana's economy recorded a 2.9 gross domestic product GDP growth in 2023, stronger than the revised 1.5% by the Ministry of Finance. The growth rate is slower than the 3.1% recorded in 2022. According to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim, the services sector contracted by 1.2%. It, however, remains the biggest size of the economy.
Growth rate between the last quarter of 2022 and the last quarter of 2023. Looking at this from the sectoral point of view, we continue to see the dominance of the services sector in the last quarter of 2023. In the last quarter of 2023, the services sector had a share of 46.3% and the industry sector 32.3% and the agricultural sector contributing about a fifth of the total GDP that was recorded in the last quarter of 2023. Highlight of annual GDP for 2023. The value of the economy from a constant GDP perspective was 186.6 billion Ghana cedis for the year 2023. This constant GDP signifies an annual growth rate of 2.9% for the year 2023. From a sectoral point of view, from an annual GDP perspective, we continue to see the dominance of the services sector. Also from an annual GDP perspective, as the services sector in 2023 had a share of 25.6%, followed by industry 31.7%, and agricultural 22.7% for the year 2023.
So that was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim speaking there. Now, away from that, in response to concerns over high duties at the ports that have constantly been raised by importers in the country, Vice President Dr. Muhammad Bamia has assured of putting in place measures to ensure that duties are predictable. As such, he revealed a committee has been set up to review charges at the country's port, dreading its negative impact on inflation. He was speaking at a dialogue with the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
If you are selling your goods, you are going to price in anticipation that the import duty I'm going to pay is going to also be higher, isn't it? So then that means the inflation dynamic will be faster. And so what we need to do is to bring in some predictability in the import duties that we're going. So a team has actually been set up to look at this issue. And we have, for example, said, that with the spare parts dealers, for example, we want to know how much it is per 40-foot container, per 20-foot container, so that they know that if I'm bringing in a 40-foot container, my duty is, 10,000 cedis or 20,000 cedis. There's predictability.
So that was Vice President Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia speaking there. Away from that, the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, is aiming to boost its total non-traditional exports to $4.5 billion this year, representing a significant increase from the forecasted figure for 2023. Deputy CEO of GEPA, Samuel Kofi Dentu, expressed optimism about reaching this target during an interview with 3 Business. His remarks came during a sensitization workshop on trade liberalization under the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfTA, organized by GEPA.
In 2022, I think we ended non-traditional exports value of about 3.6 billion, and we are hoping to do about 4 billion in 2023. We are still compiling the numbers because before you put these numbers out, you need to be sure that what you are talking about is reality, is what has ended up in the country, and so we are reconciling. I think that in the next few months we will come up with the numbers, but we are hoping to end up at 4. In 2024, we are targeting to be by end by 4.5 million or 4.6 billion US dollars. So after opens up a huge opportunity for us to increase, but of course you need to be ready with the all the basics on the ground. That is why we are doing programs like this, so that even though every country has a tall list of liberalized products, you need to understand how you are able to tap into.
So that was Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, GEPA, Samuel Kofi Dentu speaking. Now moving on, economist Dr. Saad Idrisu warns the cedi, already Ghana, Africa's third worst performing currency, according to Bloomberg, could weaken further in 2024. He urges the government to address Ghana's forex issues despite an IMF bailout program.
In high demand, so we should expect that the cedi will even perform worse again this year. So the IMF bailout may play a role, but it hasn't been able to stabilize the cedi as experts were thinking, because sometimes speculations could have driven this, but we are not seeing that. So government needs to step in with some temporary solutions like putting a temporary halt on this profit repatriation. Negotiate with these foreign companies, sit down with the management, the board of directors, find a way to limit profit repatriation for this particular year, unless it will help you to stabilize your cedi. Again, the abokis in the black market, find a way to regulate them. It will also bring about some stability. The long-run solution is to increase exports.
So that was Dr. Saad Idrisu. He's an economist bringing an end to Business Daily. For more business stories, please check out our website. It's 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe. Black Rasta is in studio.